Cognitive distortions are a pretty difficult thing to grasp in yourself. They are unfortunately easy to see in others, though.
No, as in yes.
Worse than that, dealing with them requires challenging them in another person, which often creates the impression of either being threatening or criticizing, which can sometimes lead to the result of. So why does somebody have such a strong reaction to what should be probably a minor criticism?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Let's look at what a cognitive distortion might look like in ourselves and then in somebody else. God, I could have been killed. That guy cut me off like that. Nobody does that to me. Notice that end? Nobody does that to me. Do you really think that the other driver even noticed him? I mean, when you cut somebody off and realize it, probably cringe, maybe even do the sorry. Yeah, so the cognitive distortion here is that it's about the driver, that the person that was cutting him off was doing it for some reason deliberately. And maybe that's possible, but most of the time, the other driver just doesn't care. That telling yourself at that point in the cognitive distortion a fantasy, a story. The distortion winds up being an excuse to become angry instead of just admitting that that was a scary moment and that person had been frightened. So let's jump over to another oldie but goodie that I happen to enjoy poking fun at often.
Always with you what cannot be done. Hear you nothing that I say. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No, try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
What the hell is wrong with Yoda exactly? You know, it was pretty clear what he was trying to do was set Luke up for success. You know, establish that Luke had to believe in himself. But in real life, nobody actually learns like that. We learn through successive failures, not just increasing forever perfect successes. We don't just infinitely get better. We always make a mistake. Everybody does that. Literally, everybody makes mistakes. We're all okay with admitting it, and yet sometimes confronted with it, people will then take on the attitude of, well, sure. I mean, those people.
I'm not one of those people.
Cognitive distortion here is that Luke is capable and therefore will succeed if there is no forgiveness for failure. But in real life, nobody learns like that. Life is not black and white. The cognitive distortion here is that Luke is capable and therefore will succeed if there is no forgiveness or room for failure. It's really short-sighted and very stupid. Sounds wise, but a hard fail. Probably gave him bulimia. So, moving forward, cognitive distortions, when challenged, often result in negative reaction from the person because it's a very rare person that can take a direct question to a identity characteristic, something that, you know, is personal to them. And being afraid and vulnerable is something that we all probably struggle with to a certain extent. So when we find these around in our life, ideally, if they need to be challenged, follow these rules. Let the person know that you understand this is sensitive to them. Be gentle when you use an example that you have. And have another example waiting, because they will probably protest and brush it off as a one-off. So having another one prepared is a good idea. Concrete, specific examples. Now that you've given them a couple of examples, tell them why it's worrying to you. Finish by explaining to them that you care about them and how it's going to improve your and their life if this gets worked on. Many people, when they are taking this in, will be feeling pretty bad that you brought it up, but hopefully you'll soften the blow by explaining your care for them and how it's going to improve their lives. Now, it's really important to recognize that if they're actively fighting you every step along the way and are getting more angry with you about it, these are not people who are ready to hear what you are actually sharing. It's probably another distortion on their part. Remember that they are doing this to avoid feeling, well, probably poorly about something, and forcing them to it is not going to help them work it out. You can put an upper limit for your sake on something, but watch out for your own ultimatums. I mean, if it's you, ask yourself, is this reality, or am I reacting to something that I think is this way? With assumptions.
Ow! Okay, you took a little nibble. That's probably my fault. I'm assuming I'm delicious.
Ask others about that situation. You can do this later too, a day later, a week later, it won't matter. When you mustered up the courage in yourself to ask others, like, did I see this right, or was I overreacting? That tells them that you're ready for personal growth. And more often than not, people are willing to share with you things that they think would make their lives more comfortable, if nothing else. Cognitive distortions are great defense mechanisms, just not healthy ones. Therapists, of course, are available to you to help you figure out why you're doing the things you do.
Look at them yo-yos, that's the way you do it.